What if I told you that darkness wasn't just the absence of light, but a force of creation? That the night itself has a guardian, a goddess more powerful than even Zeus dared to challenge? Meet Nyx, the goddess of night, born from the ancient void, a figure so feared and revered that even the gods themselves tread carefully in her shadow. But what secrets does she keep in the endless abyss? And why has her story been buried by the sands of time? You're about to uncover the chilling truth. Imagine a power so deep, so ancient, that it could breathe life into sleep and death, destiny and doom. Nyx's influence spans across gods and mortals alike, her children dictating our dreams, our fates, and even the very moment of our last breath. But what are the hidden truths of her children, the fates, sleep, and death? And how do they control the lives of even the mightiest deities? And more importantly, what happens when she finally rises to reclaim the night as her own? Dive into the mysteries of Nyx, where every moment reveals the shadowy secrets of an eternal goddess, the creator of the very darkness we fear. But be warned, once you step into her night, there's no turning back. In the beginning, there was only darkness, an endless, formless abyss, deeper than any mortal mind could fathom, and stiller than the silence of a closed tomb. This void was the cradle of all creation, a vast expanse untouched by light, sound, or shape. And it was within this boundless chasm that Nyx first awoke, a shadow within shadows, a spark within the very fabric of night. She did not come into being with a scream or a cry, but with the soft, steady pulse of awareness, a quiet hum that resonated in the blackness, like the faintest ripple on a darkened sea. In her earliest moments, Nyx knew herself only as an essence, boundless and ancient. She did not yet know her name or the power that she possessed. There was no form to her, only a consciousness stirring from within the endless dark, slowly taking shape as the night gave way to her will. She moved through the void, her presence a whisper, an inkling, until finally she willed herself into existence. Her form emerged like mist gathering in the coolness of twilight. Dark, fluid, and gleaming with an ethereal light, she shimmered, composed of shadows that seemed to both absorb and emit a spectral glow. Her beauty was fearsome and magnetic, a cosmic riddle woven from stardust and mystery. Her skin held the hue of midnight, and her eyes reflected the infinity of the universe itself, 1,000 galaxies whirling in silence. In this timeless realm, she found she was not alone. Erebus, her twin born of chaos, loomed beside her, his essence as dark as her own, but colder, more severe, with no light glinting from his form. He was the pure embodiment of darkness, a weight, an absence of all things. Though they were twins, there was a difference between them that neither fully understood. Nyx was night, yes, but she was also something more, a mystery poised on the edge of revelation, something unspoken waiting to be born. They watched one another in silence, two forces bound by the eternal gravity of the void. It was Erebus who broke the stillness, his voice like the deep resonance of shadow brushing shadow. "What are you?" he asked, though he himself did not know what he meant by the question. Nyx's lips parted, but she hesitated, uncertain how to answer. She felt a growing urge within her, a stirring that seemed to expand and pulse as if the darkness itself was alive. In answer, she lifted her hand, fingers stretching into the boundless expanse. Where her fingers passed, tiny sparks appeared, points of light that flickered weakly, then flared to life. Stars. They glistened, scattered across the darkness, each one casting a delicate glow that whispered through the silence. Erebus watched with an expression unreadable, perhaps awe, perhaps trepidation. For the first time, the void was no longer whole, no longer purely dark. It had become a space of contrasts, of light and shadow. Nyx looked upon her creation with a quiet wonder, feeling a new sensation blossom within her, a satisfaction that came from the act of creating, of bringing something from within herself into the world around her. She spoke then, her voice soft and resonant, like the midnight wind rustling through unseen trees. "These are my gift to the night," she whispered, her words drifting across the void. "They shall be a guide for all who walk in darkness." Erebus's gaze shifted from the stars back to her, something wary in his eyes. "Why shape the void?" he asked, his tone almost accusatory, though there was no malice, only a deep and unyielding solemnity. Nyx turned her gaze to him, studying his form as if for the first time. "Because I feel there is something beyond this silence," she replied, each word a slow unveiling, like dawn breaking on the horizon of her thoughts. "There is potential here, something waiting to be born. Don't you sense it, Erebus?" But Erebus only gazed at her with a long, unblinking stare, his form as still as stone. "The darkness is complete," he said, his voice like the roll of distant thunder. "It needs no purpose but itself." Yet Nyx could not accept this, could not let the beauty of her stars fade unchallenged. She knew then that her purpose was to bring forth mysteries from the dark, to give shape to the unknown. The stars were only the beginning. She felt the pull of something deeper, a desire to see what lay beyond mere existence, to create, to shape, to give meaning to the unformed. As time passed in the void, the stars multiplied, a shimmering cosmos that blossomed under Nyx's hand. She was not content to leave them as mere points of light. She began to arrange them into patterns, constellations that told stories only she could hear, weaving them into the fabric of the heavens. She poured herself into this creation, giving each star its own subtle beauty, each constellation its own mystery. From the depth of her being, she felt the stirrings of creation take root, and in time, she began to bring forth more than light. Out of her essence, she shaped new beings, children born from her shadows, embodiments of the night's many aspects. The first was Hypnos, the god of sleep, whose gentle touch brought peace and oblivion. His presence soothed the cosmos, a balm that fell over even the gods. With him came Thanatos, the god of death, a quiet, unyielding force that hovered on the edge of all things, marking the inevitable end. And there were others, each one a facet of her, an extension of her will. Moros, the spirit of doom, who brought with him the knowledge of fate. And the Keras, the ravenous spirits of violent death, who prowled through the battlefields of the mortal world. They moved through the night like shadows, each one leaving its own mark on the world. But her most powerful children were the Moirai, the Fates, Clotho, who spun the thread of life, Lachesis, who measured its length, and Atropos, who severed it. They were her daughters, her legacy, woven from the fabric of night and set loose upon the world to shape the destinies of mortals and gods alike. Through them, Nyx's influence reached into every corner of existence, touching all with the inevitability of time and death. As her children spread across the realms, Nyx became aware of others like herself, primordial beings who had risen from chaos to claim their own dominions. There was Gaia, the earth, who held the power of life and growth, and Uranos, the sky, who stretched above them all, watching in silent majesty. There was Tartarus, the abyss, a shadowed chasm deeper than even Nyx could fathom. And together, these beings shaped the cosmos, each in their own way, each laying claim to a piece of the universe. But with the rise of these powerful entities came strife. Tension simmered between them, rivalries and alliances woven from the threads of their powers and ambitions. Nyx found herself both respected and feared, a figure of both allure and terror. Her domain was absolute. Even the gods themselves shied away from her, wary of the darkness that clung to her like a second skin. And yet, despite her power, Nyx felt a creeping unease. The younger gods, led by the mighty Zeus, were rising, their ambitions unrestrained, their hunger for dominion boundless. Zeus, with his lightning and thunder, sought to reshape the cosmos, to claim the heavens, and bring order to the wild forces that the primordials had unleashed. He was bold, brash, and relentless, a force that could not be ignored. Nyx watched his ascent with a wary eye, sensing the change he represented. He was different from the others. He did not revere the primordial beings. did not accept the ancient order. He saw them as rivals, threats to his own power, and he would stop at nothing to bend them to his will. And as his influence grew, Nyx felt her own power waning, the night growing quieter, her children drifting into the shadows, their influence diminishing under the harsh light of Zeus's reign. Yet Nyx was not one to be easily dismissed. She was the night, the mother of all that was unseen and unknown, and her power was woven into the fabric of the universe itself. She knew that her time was not yet over, that the world still had need of darkness, of mystery, of the quiet places where stars could shine unchallenged. And so she watched, waiting, her eyes gleaming in the shadows, as Zeus and his pantheon rose to their place in the heavens. She waited, knowing that in time, all things would return to the night. For the night was eternal, and so was she. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an adventure with us.